In this video, we shall be looking at children's poetry. My name is Dr. Kibet from the Center for Open Distance and E-Learning, Machakos University. What is children's poetry? Children's poetry is poetry written for, appropriate for, or enjoyed by children. Poetry may be defined as a kind of writing, usually in a verse. Poetry verse is set out as a short lines with words put together in a written or rhythm or both. Poetry is about an author sharing with the reader an experience of a strong feeling. Poetry is often the first literature presented to a child in the form of a nursery rhymes or lullabies, offering lyrical appeal and short direct themes. These kinds of poetic verse are viewed as transitional works which prepare developing minds for longer forms of literature. Now, in the next section, I want us to look at the features of children's poetry. As you read aloud to your kid or your kids, help them listen to these fabulous features. 1. Listen for onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a word that imitates a sound. Number 2, listen to repeated sounds. 3, listen to repeated words. Number 4, listen for a rhyme. And lastly, listen for figurative language. The next section, I want us to look at why use poetry in early years education. In other words, why is poetry important for children in early years education? 1, they provide enjoyment. 2, it expands children's knowledge about the world around them. And 3, it encourages an appreciation for language use and expands vocabulary. Number 4, it helps children to identify with people and situations. 5, it expresses moods familiar to children. And finally, it gives insights into children and their feelings. And finally, our final clip, we shall be looking at the criteria for selecting poetry, particularly those ones of young children. 1, poems for children should be poems that are lively, with exciting meters and rhymes, and are most likely to appeal to young children. Poems for young children should emphasize the sounds of language and encourage play with words. Poems for children should be sharply cut. Visual images and words used in fresh, novel manners allow children to expand their imaginations and see or hear the world in a new way. Poems for young children should tell simple stories and introduce stirring scenes of action. The poems selected should be written down to children's supposed level. Number 6, the most effective poems allow children to interpret, to feel, and to put themselves into the poems. They encourage children to extend comparisons, images, and findings. Number 7, the subject matter should delight children, say something to them, enhance their egos, strike happy recollections, tickle their funny bones, or encourage them to explore. And poems should also be good enough to stand up under repeated readings. Repetition is in poetry is always satisfying. That marks the end of our video presentation where we have been discussing about children's poetry. If you like my video, kindly subscribe. You can like or even share it to your friend.